morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Steve Rudin from WJLA in Washington, D.C. New today, Hurricane Beryl is on the move, and it's the strongest hurricane to ever develop over the Atlantic Basin in June. Its rapid development, now classified as a major hurricane, is very unusual considering the time of year. Right now, hurricane and tropical storm warnings are posted for the Windward Islands, including Trinidad and Tobago, where people started to prepare for Beryl over the weekend. Nearby Grenada hasn't been hit by a hurricane this strong since Ivan, and that was 20 years ago. Meteorologist Brian Vandergraff is tracking Beryl for us this morning. Brian?
Hey, good morning, Steve. Yeah, as we take a look at the tropics, I'm going to talk about three things because there are actually three areas to talk about. But Beryl, back to a Category 4 storm this morning. You're right, it was the earliest. You have to go back in time. The earliest we ever had a Category 4 storm was July 8th prior to this year. So in addition to Beryl, we have Depression Chris, which is now over Mexico, and a new area of low pressure out in the Atlantic that has a 70% chance of development over the next 7 days. Let's talk about Beryl. Winds right now 130 miles per hour, sustained, gusting to 150. It is moving west-northwest at about 20 miles per hour, and it's going to continue to pass just to the south of Haiti, Dominican Republic, the Caymans, Jamaica, and eventually make a run towards Belize and Mexico. We'll be watching it carefully as it heads towards the Gulf by the upcoming weekend. Steve?
All righty, Brian, thank you very much. Meteorologist Emily Gracie spoke with the director of the National Hurricane Center, Michael Brennan, talked about what caused Beryl to get so strong so quickly and has advice for people who are traveling to the Caribbean this week.
It's consistent with the expectations for a very busy season and looking at those very warm to record warm ocean temperatures that have essentially opened up the main development region in the tropical Atlantic for formation, a month or two ahead of schedule. Typically we would see a storm like this maybe in August or September, closer to the traditional peak of hurricane season. But now we're seeing it in late June and early July. So that is a signal that, it's not just the ocean. The atmospheric conditions obviously have to be really favorable to get a formation like this and this kind of rapid development. But it is a sign that we are starting to see, at least for now, those very favorable conditions unfold across the Atlantic basin.
Does Beryl have any particular other major hazards that we should be looking at other than winds?
Yeah, storm surge is going to be a big problem in portions of the Windward Islands, near and just to the right or the north of where the core of that eye wall goes through those islands. We could see storm surge of 6 to 9 feet above normal tide levels.
Big vacation week. I've already had people asking me, should I cancel my vacation to Jamaica? So what are you telling folks who maybe aren't directly impacted here in the U.S., but have travel plans outside of the U.S.?
Yeah, you just want to keep monitoring the forecast. We could see impacts in Jamaica as early as, late Tuesday, early Wednesday. Certainly there is the risk of tropical storm and hurricane conditions there. And then farther downstream, places like the Cayman Islands, the Yucatan Peninsula, Belize, Mexico, even northern portions of Central America, southern portions of Hispaniola, Cuba. There's a lot of land areas in play that could see impacts from Beryl as we go through the week, especially as you move in from the central into the northwestern Caribbean. If a Category 4 hurricane in June isn't motivation enough for you to make sure you have your hurricane plan in place for the rest of this season, then I don't know what will motivate you.
We have much more of that interview on our YouTube page. That's also where you can find our special look at the 2024 hurricane season called Superstorms. We also have a special look at innovative tools that help forecasters and a unique hurricane-resistant home built completely off the grid. A Category 4 hurricane this time of year in the Atlantic is very rare, but why is that? And when do we typically see storms this strong start to develop? Let's take a look at a recent Facebook post from meteorologist Chris Sushan to find out.
And typically, we see a lot of wind shear, Saharan dust, warm, dry desert air filled with dust across the Atlantic, which really makes it difficult to get development across much of the basin. That includes also the sea surface temperatures, which are still warming into the peak of hurricane season. That's where we would typically see development in June. Here's July. Notice again, you don't really see much happening way out there into the Atlantic. Then by August into September, that's when the frequency really begins to step up. That's the peak of the hurricane season. And then everything begins to unwind with wind shear and cooler ocean temperatures. So this is how it looks graphed out. Again, you see that steep climb August into the middle of September, a secondary peak in October, and then everything begins to shut down. But here we are now, early in the season, already looking at our second named storm and what will likely be a very active 2024 Atlantic hurricane season.
In addition to tropical weather, there's also a threat of severe storms in the plains. The greatest risk is in South Dakota and Nebraska, along with a lower risk in Minneapolis and the southeast coast. Heavy rain fell over New Mexico town of Ruidoso, bringing major flooding, forcing several evacuations over the weekend. The flooding was made worse by wildfires that recently hit the area, leading to several burn scars. Town officials say they conducted at least 30 swift water rescues, and the New Mexico Army National Guard rescued several people who were standing due to flash flooding. Elisa Munez has more.
Piles of mud and debris left from rushes of water. One local capturing the flood rushing through the Innsbruck Village Resort where 4 people needed to be rescued from.
Identified an elderly couple in a home down where this water was flooding, and so they were able to call out to a civilian on the other side of the creek to pull them out of their house.
The National Guard was using equipment to help separate debris from previous flash floods.
One of those pieces of brick down there, actually, that was on the wall yesterday prior to the flooding.
The water hitting different areas.
And so it just came across the road pushing, there was a car in there, propane tanks, the big ones, railroad ties, trees, you name it, coming down. So
The mayor says these floods can happen randomly.
go to high ground and stay there. And if you're in a good spot, stay there. And that's just simply that. But what we do is people get out, they want to see what's going on, they're driving around, they've just got to town, and then they get caught in an event.
The Basin Fire in Central California continues to burn with no containment. Fire officials warn those who have plans to visit the area may need to reschedule for 4th of July. Parts of the Sierra National Forest and campgrounds in the area are closed. Sophia Lesados has more.
The Basin Fire has quickly spread, burning thousands of acres in just a few days. Fire crews say with the heat wave coming up, they're worried it's going to continue burning.
With that, our fields are going to dry out, and we will expect to see a little more aggressive fire behavior.
The U.S. Forest Service has closed part of Sierra National Forest, and many are under an evacuation order for their own safety.
They may not be supported. They may lose electricity. They may lose their utilities. Fire may run on their house and cut off their escapes.
Partial closure of Sierra National Forest will last through July 30th. So that means vacationers who plan to camp in the area for 4th of July might want to reschedule their trip. Just as a reminder, if you're camping for the holiday, don't light up fireworks in the forest.
I know people love fireworks. Go to the professional shows, attend the professional shows, but don't bring fireworks into the forest.
If you see clouds and it looks like it's going to rain, but there is none, what's up with the sky? Meteorologist Lindsay Storrs takes a look on Instagram to explain Virga.
Sometimes you'll hear meteorologists talk about Virga, especially in a place like Utah. But what is Virga? Normally, when rain falls, it reaches the ground. But in a dry environment, that rain runs into the dry air where it evaporates, and so that rain never reaches the ground. So if you see a rain cloud, and you may even see rain falling from that cloud, but rain isn't reaching the ground, what you're experiencing is most likely Virga.
Take a look at this from our station in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, taken Sunday evening. It captured lightning over Dover, Delaware, and Maryland's eastern shore, both located well over 100 miles away from the camera located in Harrisburg. Cloud tops from those distant storms were measured at around 50,000 feet. What you see here is called heat lightning, which is lightning without sound because the storm is simply too far away to hear thunder. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll take a look at how warm winter and very wet spring has impacted water levels on the Great Lakes. And we'll show you why Texas is a great place to grow giant watermelons.
I'm meteorologist Emily Santa, and let's take a look at highs today for the Northeast. Most areas will be seasonable for this time of year. Temps will be in the mid to upper 70s, in low 80s. 80 degrees in New York, 75 over in Syracuse, 79 up in Portland, Maine, 78 in Caribou, 74 down in Boston. Overall, a pretty nice start to the week. Around the 1 o'clock hour, we are tracking a chance of a shower or two in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, down into Rhode Island, but things will stay mostly clear as we head towards the evening hours.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Bailey. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. We are looking gorgeous across this area. After a front passed through, we are going to be seeing much cooler and drier air. It's going to mean no chance of rain coming for some time, and we will be looking at mostly sunny skies, but it'll be easy going as we move through the next couple days. We're looking at only the low 80s for your highs for today. And as we head into Tuesday, we will start to warm things up, but still comfortably warm around the mid-80s.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Here is a look at our highs for this afternoon. Still dealing with those above average temperatures throughout the central part of the southeast, 94s, mid and upper 90s, while the most of us will be in the mid and upper 80s, some still in the low 90s as well. We do have a weak boundary passing the area as the low pressure system pushes off to the northeast. We're going to see sea breeze development in terms of those isolated showers throughout this afternoon and evening, and then clearing through most of the area overnight.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
The past winter around the Great Lakes was considered mild. It was followed by a very wet spring. So what impact has this had on water levels and temperatures? Meteorologist Trevor Robola takes more.
As of right now, all is well.
We are right around the long-term average for both Lake Superior and Lake Michigan-Huron. Michigan-Huron's just slightly above the long-term average, like by a couple inches.
According to Breederland, our Great Lakes are on their normal seasonal rise and are not forecasted to have any major rises or dips. But as usual, that is up to Mother Nature.
So no real drastic variation this year. It's hard for any of the models that have been developed and all the information that's put in them to predict well past 6 months or maybe a year.
With the Great Lakes stable, there are no foreseeable problems in store for boating conditions.
So the boaters, to be able to launch your boat, you need enough depth to put in your boat. In 2012, we had record low levels on the Great Lakes, and we had real problems with people launching recreational boats, as well as any of the Great Lakes freighters. They had to light load what they could actually carry from the ports that they serve.
This is also a positive for the ecosystem and life in the water. Fish ecosystems as a whole are very good at adapting to lake levels and can take some drought, but lake levels that are too low can pose a problem for fish populations.
When they were extremely low, we lost a lot of wetlands, and we were kind of concerned about some species going into the wetlands and not being able to spawn in the spring.
We will need to keep a close watch on this fall and winter, as slightly warmer water temps can lead to water loss if we have a large cold spell.
If we get the cold Arctic air blasts out of the Canadian Arctic and come down over these warm Great Lakes, that's when we see maximum evaporation. And the year that we had the terrible loss of water, 2012, fall of 2012, we lost a foot of water on Lake Michigan-Huron due to evaporation alone.
When your local meteorologist gives you current temperatures or humidity readings, did you know that those measurements are always taken from a location that is protected from the sun? Meteorologist Mark Pena recently explained why that is on TikTok.
So anytime you get a current reading of a temperature, maybe on your phone or on the radio or on TV, those temperatures are measured in the shade because that's the most accurate air temperature. If you were to take the air temperature in the sunshine, the sun's rays would heat that more than what the air temperature actually is. So the reason why we harp on taking breaks in the shade is because if you spend any time in the sunshine, it's significantly hotter by about 10 to nearly 15 degrees. So when you take a break in the shade, it's still hot, but it's at least cooler than what you'll be experiencing in the sunshine. Here are some more heat safety tips, along with taking breaks in the shade, drinking plenty of water, just avoiding strenuous activities outside to begin with, because if you're already in the sunshine and it's significantly hotter and then your heart rate's going up, say if you're running or biking, you're just putting yourself in some unnecessary danger. And wearing light colored clothing, the reason why we say that is because light colors like whites, light blues, what have you, reflects the sun's radiation as opposed to absorbing it like darker colors. And then if you're experiencing any cramps or any kind of uneasiness, that could be signs that maybe you're heading towards heat exhaustion and heat stroke, and you'll want to make sure you're going inside or finding some shade.
Most clouds are fascinating, like these pictured here. They look wavy and turbulent. Meteorologist Brandon Stover explains what they are called and how they form.
Well, we had some ominous-looking skies across the Ohio Valley and the Central Appalachians on Tuesday, but thankfully they were more bark than bite. These asperatus clouds, taken by Kevin Adkins, were caused by a weakening line of storms dropping in out of the north. Rain-cooled air coming out ahead of this line was trying to lift the air up since it's more dense, but with our atmosphere rather stable, that rising air quickly sunk back down. That up and down motion created these wave-like and chaotic-looking clouds. It's almost like if you jumped into a pool and then looked back at the surface underneath the water. A change in wind direction within the cloud layer and some drier air likely enhanced this effect too, especially in regards to the smaller hole seen. This boundary could go on to produce showers and thunderstorms elsewhere, since it's essentially acting like a mini cold front. So yes, it's true. The atmosphere is a fluid, which can make it predictable, but also very complex at times too.
Did you know Texas is one of the top 4 watermelon producers of the United States? A town called Luling celebrated the sweet staple with a festival over the weekend. Meteorologist Chicago Windler found out the secret to growing the summertime favorite.
Welcome to Luling, Texas, the watermelon capital of the world. So what makes watermelons grow so well here? I went to a local farm to find out.
I started to do watermelons when I'm 17 years old.
Watermelon farmer Rudy Hernandez says he came to Luling from Mexico. He started out loading watermelons in trucks, but learned from the farmers he worked for and dreamed of having his own farm someday.
I wish in the future I have my own farm, and thank you, Lord, I did it. We got it now.
Since 2006, he and his sons have been living out that dream.
It's already ripe.
From these orange glow watermelons to the popular 720 Jubilee, Rudy has 8 acres of melons, including rows of the Black Diamond variety that put Luling on the map.
The whole history of Luling relies on watermelons. And so being able to have a festival that honors our growers, it's a really big honor.
Watermelon thump queen Maddie Spradling says the name thump is how you know a good watermelon.
To be able to tell how ripe it is or how sweet it is, you just thump it. And if it makes a hollow sound, it's a good watermelon.
You'll find watermelon-themed merchandise, drinks, and photo ops at the festival, along with the World Championship Seed Spitting Contest. And for growers like Rudy, the Championship Watermelon Weigh-In.
This melon weighs 110.9.
Rudy's biggest melon earned him a spot on the podium.
In second place is Rudy Hernandez with 110.9.
So this soil is really good for watermelons.
The soil in Luling is perfect for watermelons. It's loamy with a mix of clay, sand, and silt. And watermelons love full sun and hot weather.
Really, this is the best year for us.
Rudy says the other key to success is not just relying on rain from Mother Nature.
Because we do the irrigation system, and it's a lot of money to do this way.
With every good season, he's paying the irrigation system off little by little.
25, 26, right?
And his second place melon earned a $3,000 prize at auction that will help.
We make everybody happy. Make some watermelons, and that's why we love it. Raise watermelon.
In Luling, Texas, I'm Chicago Windler for the National Weather Desk.
Now let's check out to see weather in cities across the country later this afternoon. We start in the self-proclaimed sweetest place on earth. That's Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's looking good in central PA today with lots of sunshine and highs around 80 degrees. Now we head to the first coast, Jacksonville, Florida. They're looking at scattered thunderstorm chances today and again for the rest of the week. Highs will sizzle in the lower 90s. Our third stop is in the Motor City of Detroit, Michigan. Motown is looking great this afternoon, making it this morning. Lots of blue sky out there right now, low humidity, and temperatures in the upper 70s. And our trip ends in the Pacific Northwest with a shot of the, well, you can barely see it, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge just south of Seattle. Tacoma is also looking at sunshine for today, later today, with highs around 81 degrees. And time now for a short break, but first let's take a flight over beautiful St. Louis, Missouri.
Well, a very good Monday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. We've got thunderstorms out across the plains for the day today. That will continue to move east as we head into the next couple of days. But, man, the Great Lakes are basking in some really pleasant conditions. Highs in the 70s, only 68 for the high in Milwaukee today. Now that rain does continue to slowly move its way east on Tuesday as we heat up. And the thunderstorms moving their way into the Great Lakes in the Ohio Valley by Wednesday. More scattered rain moving back into the plains.
Good Monday morning. I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo. Look at our forecast across the region. It's going to be a typical early July day out there for the first day of July. We're going to start warm near 80, and then we'll be near 100 across a good portion of the region this afternoon. We will have an isolated scattered shower opportunity across southeast Texas. Otherwise, pretty dry across the region. As we head into your Tuesday, more summer-like weather starting near 80, back close to 100 for the afternoon.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. Hot weather getting so hot we have extreme heat warnings in place, especially becoming dangerous up through inland areas of Central California. But this also stretches these triple-digit heat temperatures into Arizona and parts of New Mexico. Our next weather maker coming in is going to be that continued feed of monsoonal moisture into the Four Corners, which enhances the flash flood risk in this particular part of the states. That's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Lenticular clouds are, in my book, my favorite. You don't see them very often, but they look so cool. Here's meteorologist Matt Monroe to explain how they form.
All right, what we're looking at here, lenticular clouds. They are so cool. They're so pretty. A lot of people call these the flying saucer clouds. I took this video myself recently during sunset, but they're not actually one cloud. They're actually numerous clouds stacked on top of the other. This picture is courtesy of Hasley Kemp, and it really tells the story. So to get clouds like this, you have to be on the eastern or the leeward side of a mountain range. In this case, the Sierra Nevada. These are the valleys over western Nevada, and the winds are coming in parallel at different heights. So the winds are coming in here. There's one cloud, there's a second cloud, a third cloud, and a fourth cloud, and they're so close together, they're actually touching and they look like one cloud. Here's another one. There's, of course, the top cloud. There's the secondary cloud, and we put them all together, we get lenticular clouds. So not one cloud, but kind of a series of clouds stacked on top of each other, almost like a stack of pancakes.
Looking for more great weather content? Be sure to check us out on social media. You can find us on all your favorite platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We're back after this. Thank you so much for looking in this morning. I'm glad you were able to join me. I'm meteorologist Steve Rudin from WJLA in Washington, D.C. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Good day.